Alright guys, I selected the plywood sheet and I chose this side as the nastiest side of the sheet. So this is the side that's going to get covered with the survival blanket. So I'll grab the survival blanket and we'll go ahead and start taping it down. Hopefully, I may have to do some trimming because I'm not sure if I had extra on here or what. We'll kind of spread this out and see what we end up with. Yeah, looks like I'm gonna have extra. So some cutting's gonna be needed for sure. Oh yeah. So I gotta remove quite a bit. What I'll do is I might just fold the edges over instead of cutting them and then taping them down again. Just so I use up all the material and none's wasted. So I think that's the plan of attack on this one. So I'm going to do this. You guys can enjoy. It looks like some kind of crazy space age yoga, tinfoil yoga. We'll see. I'll have to see how I can fold this stuff over, find my edges. It's quite a bit. So this will have to adjust that a little bit. I'll probably go as flush as I can on the end here, and then whatever extra is pulled back this way, I'll fold over. So this will be quite tricky, actually. Yeah, really tricky. Okay. So all I do to fasten this is I use electrical tape, guys. And then I double the tape over so it's sticky all the way around. So just stick the tape to itself and then just dab a corner and then do what you can to get it taped to the edge without too much nonsense, and then any extra you can always add some more tape and go from there. Perfect. And if you're new to the channel, this material is mylar, reflective mylar, and it's actually emergency survival blanket material. And what it does is it radiates a lot of heat back, and works very well actually. And I'm using it as an insulation, so up in the ceiling So on hot days and cool days, it bounces the heat out and keeps the heat in on the cold days. So I'm making the tiny house more efficient, and I know it works because I've done quite a few of the walls in the tiny house, except for back, well, I actually did back here, except for the bathroom area, which is kind of like a cold zone anyway. So I'm pretty happy with this stuff, and it's fairly inexpensive. They do make the stuff that is kind of like bubble wrapping material for packages, and that's really good stuff because it actually has an R value with it, but it is pricey, very pricey. I think it's called Reflectix is one of the companies, and the stuff is worth it. It's a good addition to whatever you choose to do, either spray foam or fiberglass, because it'll work with both, and you know, it'll bounce that heat back and keep it where you want to keep it. It all depends where you put it up. So I've done most of the walls of the tiny house, like I said, and now I'm just doing the ceiling. So this winter I'll be able to test out the difference between last winter. Once I run my fireplace for the first time this year, I can then really see the difference, because that heat is going to be bouncing around and hitting this stuff. Instead of trying to leave the tiny house, it will kind of be trapped in the tiny house, and that's where you want it. You want the heat in your house, keep comfortable, go from there. Okay, so this section is on its way. Just pull some of the slack out. Tag down this corner some more. There we go. But yeah, this stuff is, I got it all at the dollar store. And well worth it. What you can do to test this out, if you ever have a chance to buy some of this material, throw it up over your head and wait a couple minutes. You should notice quite a bit of heat coming back off, just off your body heat, right off the get-go. It's pretty amazing stuff. And most of the food nowadays is packaged in this stuff, believe it or not. So, something to think about. Good. even if I do the border, guys, that's normally enough to, you know, keep things secure. I just have a little bit of, you know, overlap to do a little extra here, so I'll just tape that down to itself. That way, you know, I'm not cutting off pieces that are really just going to be thrown in the trash, so nothing wasted on this panel. And then I just press down and continue on. Okay. Yeah, I had a half day today, so worked the morning. Got a bunch of stuff done. Had a quick lunch. A bowl of multi-grain Cheerios. And came over here and started to work on the wiring and all that fun stuff. So that's where we're at. Something tells me I'm gonna have to go to the Dollar Tree eventually and load up on more electrical tape, because I'm gonna end up using quite a bit of it, it looks like. Nothing wrong with that, though. I'm kind of using it to, I'm using the platform to sit on, because once you kind of push the slack out this way, it ensures that, you know, it's not gonna move, well, shouldn't move, and just make more work for you. Good. This is kind of like the tedious, slow part of the job, guys, but it'll pay for itself in no time, because it's gonna bounce that heat back, and I know it will, because this stuff's ridiculously good, and it's kind of sold as a gimmicky item, believe it or not. Survival blankets for prepping and emergencies and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, really? But I found a good use for it, that's for sure. I was, most of you know, Stu, High Tech Guy 18, a big part of this channel. Helps me with quite a bit of stuff. Recommendations, comments, even helps other people in the comments. And definitely check his channel out. He recommended this material to me, the radiant barrier stuff, because he saw me freezing when I came over here in a blizzard, just to try out the tiny house in the worst conditions possible. And that's when I had 0 solar panels. All I did was I brought a battery over, which was my smallest of the 2 batteries that is actually hooked up to solar now. It is the orange inverter, and inverter power pack battery type of thing. And he saw me freeze to death over here, and he actually told me about using an LED light bulb to keep warm under the covers. And so what I did was exactly that. My little battery did not last very long in the cold running my 120 volt fireplace motor, which has since been removed and replaced with 5 volt USB powered fans, which work okay. And I was under the covers shivering to death, and I had a small battery pack donated by Primo, and you can check his channel out. It's Primo's Shed, and he donated that generously to the off-grid tiny house here, along with the LED light bulb. And I used those two I basically turned the light bulb on, powering it via his little cell phone battery pack thing, and it gave me enough heat to get through the night under the covers. So I had the battery pack and the light bulb under the covers with me, and it generated enough heat, believe it or not, to keep going through the night, because I was shivering and shaking. And this is all before I discovered this stuff, Radiant Barrier, or knew anything about it. So the shivering and shaking is going to come to an end. Oh, and also I have many layers of blankets now at the tiny house here with me, so I shouldn't be freezing to death. And with all the extra upgrades I've done to the place, I think I'll be fine, guys. You won't have to worry. Okay. We're getting to the end, guys. Then I gotta come back and retape all the overlap back onto itself, because I'm gonna have a ton of that. I already know. And I can tell you guys, I did receive a phone call from my accountant, and he's going to get a hold of me when he has time, and he's going to bring a shredding company over, and he's going to go through with me in the tiny house here and remove and destroy via the shredder all his boxes that he's storing here, or at least the majority of them, and maybe all of them. Hopefully that would be okay, though he does pay half of my rent, which is $300 a year. My rent is $600 a year, but he pays half of that, so $300, right? And just to be clear, and he's due to pay me again coming up shortly, very shortly. So that will be good. That will basically cover a lot of my expense on the ceiling material, the lumber. So that will be good to have, you know, covered, and I won't have to worry about breaking the bank. And then if it's true, and he takes the majority of these boxes out, guys, that are beside me, that are, I'm gonna fall, these things are gonna collapse on me and kill me right here. They're pretty damn heavy. They're all full of paperwork, completely full of paperwork, and if he's able to get rid of a lot of this stuff, then that will free up my storage room here so I can continue working. And back here, I'm going to be building my main large off-grid solar system with a large battery bank. And I'm going to plan on using AGM batteries because in about 5 years, when the AGM batteries are toast, by then lithium should be relatively common and cheap. I know they're making great strides in that technology. They have solid state batteries now, lithiums, that are very safe and do not explode or anything like that. Because what was happening with the lithiums, guys, they're excellent batteries, but what happens with them is they don't like oxygen. So once you give them oxygen, I guess there's some type of metal salt type of thing. I'm guessing what's causing it is they do not like oxygen, and they oxidize, which is the term for rust, but they rust so fast that they catch on fire and burn like thermite. If you ever guys see thermite burn, it's like a you know the sparklers on your birthday cake sometimes? It's like that. It just disintegrates very fast, burns very quickly, burns through pretty much anything. And it's something you don't want to have happen in your house, of course, because then you wouldn't have a house. So I'm kind of, and right now they're very expensive, the batteries. So hopefully in about 5 years I can pick up some lithiums, and then off-gridding will be really nice. But you know, for now that's what I got to deal with. So add a few more little sticks of tape here and we'll be good. Now I got to tape over the overlap. Which is kind of going to be a pain, because I got to fold it one direction and then another. Yeah, it's going to be a pain. It's going to take some time. But anyway, yeah, so that's what's been going on, guys. Dad's doing okay. No issues. I'm taking him to his final checkup very shortly. So by the time you guys see this video, it would have happened already. And we'll see if we'll be able to drive again, which is going to be nice. He's eager to. He hasn't driven in 6 months. I've been his chauffeur the entire time. And, you know, you got to kind of go by the doctor's orders, because they were concerned. They really didn't know what it was. I'm guessing it was a heat stroke. Though they did they ran him through every test in the book, and you know, they even put a defibrillator into him. So it's kind of one of those things where better safe than sorry type of thing. And he got used to it fairly quick, so that's okay. Take this down. That one needs quite a bit. Now, overlap. Yeah, and then once this is up there, guys, we should be good to go. I don't foresee any craziness gonna happen. And then in the future, guys, if I have to pull a segment of the ceiling down in order to run some wires or something, I can always do that. So that's kind of nice, actually. So this piece can be taped. Tape that. Good stuff. So take that down. I think this is the most boring part of the ceiling project, like I said, but well worth it in the end of the little tedious time I gotta spend doing this. It should keep the heat where it should be going, and I wonder how warmer the floor is going to be now, because it's going to bounce a lot of the heat down to the floor level. And if you guys have watched this channel for any length of time, you know that the floor of the tiny house gets awfully cold because I do not have skirting on it. And well, skirting's kind of out of the question until I get my own property. Just because, you know, can't just throw skirting on and then if I ever have to move the tiny house, well, big trouble. That's going to be a lot of work. But maybe if I win the lotto or something, guys, I can get my own little piece of land. And the tiny house will really take off then. Because then I can do a lot more stuff. Like rain collection, skirting. I want to do a whole ton of stuff. Okay, so a little bit more taping down here. And then this is done. Hula girls dancing up there. So that's this guy done. Now, do I dare put this guy up myself? We will see. Oh, I got 1 minute of video left. So I gotta end this video and put this guy on the charge. So be back in a sec.